Hello, legends. Welcome to another episode of the 180 podcast. Rugby League just keeps on delivering week after week. We've got plenty to talk about today. We'll obviously touch on the Lachlan Galvin situation, the halves, merry-go-round, Spencer Leniu and Johnathan Thurston. Deadly, one of our good mates. A bit of an incident there up at Suncorp. We'll look at Penrith and their form at the moment, and we'll obviously have the preview of all 8 games, and the show is now brought to you by Unibet, which is very exciting, and we'll go through a bit of a multi at the end, and we probably won't get Rennie's tip this week as usual. All right, let's continue. Let's get into this.
I've got some personal news, boys.
Personal?
Yeah.
You pregnant?
Yeah, I'm expecting.
Someone else
with Lapa. I'm playing A grade.
No, you're not.
I swear to God.
No, you're not. Are you serious?
Signed last week. Yeah.
Oh.
So I expect you to come along to Lapa A grade and
yes.
Well, you are winding back the clock,
mate. I'm feeling good. I'm training hard with Strong Dad and Sean yourself.
Yeah, that's good.
Can we get a skin fold test?
You know what? And
how'd this come about?
Well, I need to stay busy, and you know me better than anyone.
I'm
if I'm not busy, I go.
What do you
missing.
do? Yeah.
So
another AA meeting.
Yeah. So now that I'm finishing up with my current employment and having the rest of the year off, I want to stay busy.
That's
so
good.
Tuesday, Thursdays, I'll go down to Yarra.
Yeah.
I said to the boys, I'll have a run here and there, maybe out in the centres.
I like it.
Play at 6, but defend in the centres.
That sounds like you.
That's spot on.
Please
so,
don't.
mate,
I don't want to curse you, but I've seen this before.
Yeah.
And you'll be hobbling in here. I don't want you walking in here with crutches. Like, please, touch wood because I don't want to jinx
I'm excited, mate. It's funny because I'm a Kenzo Junior, as you know. That's the only loyalty that lies with me is the Dragons.
Turn your back on the club.
No, I've had Wombats ringing me.
Yeah.
I've had Sutto message me because I had to get release forms and everything. So the Lapa boys, I'll see you next week.
How did you land on Lapa? What was the big signing?
Damon Alitovio.
Oh, yeah. Damon.
Yeah. We grew up playing together, a couple of years younger than
Kenzo boy.
Kenzo boy. Played a bit of first grade. So.
All right, so watch this space. This is going to be fun.
It's going to be good.
You could have another segment off the back of this
I
every
forgot
week.
to tell you about it. Anyway,
I know. He hadn't even told me. I tell you what, that's as big as news as Lachlan Galvin.
That's the show.
Yeah,
We're done.
We're done now. See you later. Now, Lachlan Galvin, what about this? I mean, as I said at the top, the gift that keeps on giving this game, honestly, you had the Spencer and Jono instance, which we'll get to, and then you've got DCE, and DCE's rubbing his hands this week going, how good this. No one's talking about me. So Lachlan Galvin, as everyone has heard a million times, is knocked back a $6 million deal. Over 5 years, upgrade was going to be from the West Tigers next year. And just pretty much said he just doesn't want to be there. It's not. He's come out with a statement, said it's not about money, it's about development. We'll touch on this quickly. We want to have a bit of a different take on this. Everyone's had their opinion. All the punters have, the journos have, and a lot of experts. We want to give a bit of a player's view and take people inside the sheds a bit here and on what the players would be thinking and why they reacted the way they did, Rennie, and go to the coach yesterday.
Yeah.
You know, because we can understand it probably more so than, but, what do you think overall quickly on it?
Look, I want to look at this with an open lens and not keep a narrow view. He's copped a lot. He's a good player, a good young kid. Like, he's talented. There is potential there. But for a 19-year-old to come out and say, well, allegedly, that his management has said, don't even bother, we're going to move on. I was of the view yesterday at training in the morning, I think I spoke to Hoz maybe before he got there and said, he can't play grade. He can't. Reason being, right, and this might sound a little bit dramatic, but for me, rugby league is going to war, right? The lacerations, the broken bones, the torn muscles, the pre-seasons, it's very emotional. You go through the absolute trenches with your teammates that if I've got a guy beside me who I think is going to be behind me or maybe just in front and not beside me, then there's concern, there's worry. I don't want someone in my team that I don't think I can rely on. For me, I look at it and you're like, the enemy's up on that ridge and he's just saying, I'm going to go around the long way and meet you over there. That's how I see it. He's abandoning his teammates. So for the senior players to say, I don't want to play alongside him, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
I'm with you.
Yeah.
You know, I've got mixed thoughts and emotions around it. I look at it and I feel sorry for him in a way because I think he's going to be crucified, which he is at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I think that a lot of it is based around the team he's put around him.
Yep.
And the decisions that have been made by people that are supposedly experienced and have his best interests at heart. And at 19, you're very vulnerable, right? I've been there, you know. I've been in that position before, and you're not thinking the way that you would think in another 5 or 6 years down the track. I think, you know, he's underestimated the impact that this decision would have.
Extremely.
And the exposure it would get
Yep.
and the criticism that he has received. And I put a lot of that blame on, again, the people around him.
Yeah.
You know? When you make these decisions, you need to take into account the effect it's going to have on the individual. And I just think they've just haven't done that. And so that's the first thing for me. So I do feel for him a lot, you know, because this is going to hurt him. And you know, it's not only going to hurt him professionally, like as a player. It already has. He's been dropped.
Yep.
But your image, your brand, you know, what people think of you as a human being, because no one knows you. They only see what they see on TV or read in the papers. Like that's like me, man. I copped it for years, and no one really knew who I was as a person. But that because of the articles, headlines, and stories, and you know, money I was being paid, and clubs I was at, you know, people form judgment.
If you had a far bigger, I wouldn't say target, but pressure on you, I remember clearly the next Brad Fittler was the headlines.
That was the first story.
The first story.
On my debut.
You're the nephew of a South
Thanks,
Scrape.
guys.
Yeah.
You know, but at the time, remember, you can finish that. At the time I got that, I loved it, you know? So this is my point.
Okay.
I'm going, I'm on the back page.
Yeah.
I'm making my debut. They're telling me I'm the next Fittler. All my mates are ringing me. Everyone's going mad. I'm loving it. This is amazing. This is my dream. It's what I've always wanted to do. I look back on it now and I think that was the worst thing that could happen to me.
Yeah.
You know? And this is my point.
Yeah. He's in a similar situation, right? So Westfield Sports High star comes into grade, young age. I think he could probably take some of the blame here with his ego. I think that have to come into play somewhat.
Which you can have at that age as well. You know,
need ego to be
You need to be
successful.
arrogant. You need arrogance.
You need it.
That ego you got to keep in check.
Yes.
And I do hear that from inside the West Tigers camp. He's a confident kid.
Yep.
And I do hear that I wouldn't say he gets along with everyone there.
Okay.
Even before this.
Yeah.
And that to me is shown by their reaction to this. Which brings me back, okay? So I agree with everything you said at the start.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make that clear that, you know, I can feel for the position he's in, you know. I don't agree with it, the decision he's made and the people around him. I think it's poor.
Yeah.
And I think after all these years, you know, as an agent and as you've got a responsibility, mate. Like you want to earn him money. You want to earn the kid money. You want to get him, you want to financially look after him, right? But you got to prioritize his well-being as well.
Yeah.
And his longevity as well, you know? Like it questions a lot about him and even what club takes him on. Like
the club he potentially goes to.
I know the Dogs now base a lot of their decision-making on the personality of the player, and so do a lot of clubs, you know?
Yeah.
So, and brands at the moment, they're not going to go near him.
Yeah.
Are they? He's going to have to earn that back.
He's going to earn it back. He has to.
He's untouchable right now as a brand.
Yeah.
You know, because he's let his team down, walked out on the club, and he's hammered a legend of the club, Benji Marshall, on the way out, who's his head coach. You know, and said that he's took a dossier.
Yeah.
Like he wrote a dossier. So whatever the fuck that is, by the way.
You wouldn't even know what a dossier is.
I used dossier because I used it last night on 360. I know. I've heard of it, but
he outlined a dossier.
It's notes on a piece of paper pretty much, but I'm just trying to sound really smart.
Yeah.
But he's written this down. Can you imagine being 19 and writing down
ChatGPT, mate. AI.
I call it I am, and I won't tell you why. You can try and work that out yourself. You probably won't, but people watching me, but
You said it last night on 360. I was thinking, what's I am? You got to tell me off
keep
camera.
thinking deeper.
Continue, please, mate.
Let's talk about the people around you.
Okay.
Keep thinking deeper.
Righto.
So he's like, who's writing notes about you? He hasn't been coached by anyone else. He's got a Tigers legend who is the only half that's won a premiership for the West Tigers as your head coach, who had the same, who was a child prodigy.
Yes.
Same.
Yes.
He has brought Luai, a four-time premiership winner, to play with him. Coruscant at 9, Buller at the back's young.
Yeah.
But like, what else do you want?
It's around you.
And if this is based on development, where else are you going to learn more than where you are right now? Mm-hmm. So that's where it gets so murky for me.
It just becomes maybe he just doesn't like Benji. Well, that's the excuse.
That's what it seems like. But how do you not like you're 19? Like, you're going home writing that? We could look back at this and go, you know what? This guy's ahead of it. He's ahead of
his time. Yeah.
Like that's another thing.
Yeah.
We could go, you know what? He was right. Tigers could fall off a cliff. He goes to another club, wins a comp within 2 years, and everyone's going, this kid knew what he was doing. This kid is elite and he's generational player.
Yeah.
Like that could happen, but the percentages of that happening for me are very low. Like, being honest.
No, you do talk about Jonah Pezzett from a mental standpoint, like that. But
Jonah, who I've got is, but that's coming from Bellamy. See, Bellamy said
not from himself.
Yeah, that's not from himself. Yeah. Like Bellamy has said that Jonah's the smartest half he's ever coached and will coach for 10 years after he plays. And he's only 21, 22.
Yeah.
So there are, kids like it, but Jonah ain't writing a dossier and taking it to Craig and saying, in the preseason, I thought we could have done this better or that. You got to earn those stripes before you're taking dossiers in the meetings. Like you really do. Yeah. And and we go back to Rennie. What are the other players? Like Luai comes to a club that's got wooden spoon after wooden spoon, and they're top 8. They're playing Para, who are coming last. So win this week. If they won their next 2 games, which they're winnable, I had a look, they're top 4. And that at this time, you make that call and you don't put the team first. You jeopardize your team and the hard work. You talk about off-season, you talk about going to war, talk about going into the trenches, you talk about trust, you talk about dying for the bloke next to you, which is back in 2004 with the Bulldogs, all of us, that was our mindset. It was war every week and we relied on every player that we had around us. Now, I couldn't imagine, even if a player did decide to move on at that point, because the love and affection and the trust that we had, we would trust them in that decision and we wouldn't go to the coach and say we're not playing with him because we had that relationship and we saw how much he wanted to be there regardless of the decision that he had made.
Correct.
It wouldn't have happened. So this to me shows that not only it shows to me that there's probably been an issue before.
Well, he's asked for this. Few releases.
Yeah, there's been an issue before this.
Yeah, this is ongoing.
But I just don't like
the timing of it's really off.
Well, you know why, but Rennie, it's deliberate disruption from an agent.
So? Yeah.
So Reedy was going on and on about it's not about the money.
Stop picking on Reedy too, mate.
Everyone says that, but he digs his own hole.
He's my man. He's on the back of the bike with me.
Yeah, but he's riding the Aspen. Mate, please don't. I love you and you're one of my best mates. Don't. You need to jump off the bike and let Lloyd Christmas go by himself to Aspen. Let him.
There's room for one more.
Even if those chicks pull up on the bus and tell you to jump in, put Ready on the bus. You get on the bus. Actually, I'm coming.
You're already on the bus. You got the chain.
I'm driving the fucking bus. Oh shit. Anyway, we've gone off track here.
Look, I think essentially with Lachie, I don't want to be not a bully. Like he's a kid, but he's playing a man's game. He's got to make some decisions for himself. Understand that he's going to have to build his reputation back by performances.
Okay. Do you play him in reserve grade?
Yes.
For the next year and a half? Do you bring him back this year? Do you let him go? They're the 3 options.
Oh, I'll let him go. That's the first option I'll take. let him go if that is a genuine option. Number two, he stays in reserve grade until
For
he
2
earns
years.
until he earns his spot back. Until the senior players trust him being on the field alongside them. That's the sacrifice they're willing to make. And I understand Tigers have had 3 wooden spoons and they want to win. I understand it.
But don't you
no
think
one's bigger than a club.
No one's bigger than a club.
No one's bigger than
That's
a
the
club.
bottom line. But I love how the Tigers, because they've been criticised for their performances, but also their leadership and their board and our board
Great
level.
leadership.
And they've handled this brilliantly, right?
Yeah, they have.
But wouldn't you just think, let's stick it to these guys that are trying to pull the wool over our eyes. They've tried to deliberately disrupt, which they have. They've now disrupted their season and jeopardised making the finals this year and next year. So, in my opinion, I'm thinking, well, the Tigers have got every right to say, you know what, let's take a stand here and just play him in reserve grade for a year and a half. He's only on 350, so the agent benefits nothing. His ploy does not work.
Yeah, well,
And he learns his lesson, Lachie, over that period of time.
It
Sends a message, a strong message, and other clubs would applaud it too.
Yeah.
But of course, then you think, but like if you let him go straight away, they've handed them in what they've wanted here.
Yeah.
Like if they say, all right, go, then Lachie will go get $1 million for next year when he's only on 350, which is why his agent's done this.
Okay.
And then he'll sign for another club for 1.1 or whatever, and he'll end up with an extra $1 million in his pocket at a different club, which is what they set out to do in the first place. So you're just going to give them what they want after they've just fisted your club?
Yeah. When you break it down that way.
You know what I mean? That's why the fans are filthy. Like, I don't usually look at, well, I have on this BTFU with the socials, right, because I wanted to engage with the fans, but I don't usually read comments and stuff because it does nothing for me and my job, especially on 360. I haven't done it for 10 years now. But I wanted to have a really good indication of what the fans thought yesterday before I went on 360. I wanted to get a vibe of where, did they agree with me, or was I thinking the same as everyone else, the punters out there? It was 95, if not higher % of everyone saying F him and his agent and stick him in reserve grade for a year and a half. Like that was overwhelming for me. Like it was crazy. And I just think everyone knows that if you let him go, you're giving them what they want.
Yeah.
I'd probably keep him and let him. It'll build resilience within the team. Like the other blokes will want to lift this week now. They'll go, you know what, stuff that. Let's prove that we don't need him. Like that's kind of
is there too much damage done now? Just say.
Oh, that's the problem, Randy. There's a lot of damage done, man.
Yeah, you don't think they could.
So watch this space.
He could maybe change his mind and goes and earns his way back in. They trust. They're happy.
That can happen. And Paul Crawley made a great point. Milford did this.
Yeah.
When he wanted to go from the Raiders to the Broncos.
14.
And Sticky as he does. He don't fuck with Sticky, man. Sticky's like, nah, mate.
I've been on the end of it.
So have I.
Yeah.
I think everyone has.
Yeah.
And they kept him and he, and the players probably had the same, I would assume the same sort of opinion. He ended up winning next year, ended up winning the Player of the Year for the Raiders, and then went to the Broncos and did really well up there. So, it's going to be interesting to see how it does play out. But I think we've had our say on that. Let's move to where he lands.
Right.
If he does, if they let him go, effective immediately, which is a big chance.
Could
when we discuss this,
Yep.
we'll probably give our opinion on effective immediately, and then also maybe at the end of next year.
Yeah.
But I think more so effective immediately because that's the highest possibility I think at the moment. So where do we start? Let's start with teams. We'll start from where the teams that are probably unlikely to get him, but are a possibility. I'll start us off, and you can go after me, Ren. I thought last night on the show, it come into my head Penrith. I thought him and because I'm looking at the halves pairings. And Talangi, obviously, I was pushing for him, and I can see why they've probably been hesitant with him. He wasn't good on the weekend. They probably need to more prioritise forwards, Penrith, at the moment, with Fisher Harris leaving in that middle third of the field. They're being dominated so much at the moment. They're not slowing the ruck down. They're losing it, and that's where they're getting caught on the edges. So I'd probably prioritise a forward, but I thought it was a possibility, Ren.
I think they need to prioritise a half.
You do?
I'll go the other way with Penrith.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so he'd be a good buy then.
I think he'd be a great buy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think Talangi's probably maybe a centre or a fullback.
Yeah.
I think they really do need a 6. I think they're losing direction with.
Can you imagine him and Cleary in the halves?
Outstanding. Outstanding.
Like that to me is a halves pairing. Like that's and they're both at the right. Like he's at his ripe age, Cleary now. Like he's years ahead of any other half for his age. Then you got the next biggest or brightest coming through.
Yeah, dangerous team again.
You know,
could you imagine the mentoring that he could do, and it just allows Galvin.
Well, he wants development too, right?
Yeah,
because Luai and Benji aren't going to develop him.
Dossier together.
Dossier.
Penrith would be he'd be a great fit for Penrith.
Yeah. But the big thing there, Ren, is just salary cap because they paid a bit for Blaze. And if they want to buy another, they'd have the money, I reckon, just to get him. Yeah. Just. But then they've got to upgrade Cleary probably next time they sign him.
Right. Okay, let's not worry too much. Oh, well, you have to worry about the salary cap and contracts, etc. I just think he will fit. No, I'm just saying.
We'll brush that when we get to
I just saying.
It does come into play a little bit.
Who could usually.
Let's not worry about the salary cap. Oh, okay.
No, what I mean is if anyone needs a 6, it's definitely.
Yeah, okay. All right. Now, who's the next one probably? You mentioned the Raiders to me. What was your thought around that?
Look, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of the Fogarty situation. I just thought it was bizarre that they're only offering him 1 year.
Yeah, so I'll give you the ins and outs. So it was a club option. It was a club option after round 6. So that's now that they can either let him go or take up the extra year. And then when it got to round 20, it turned into, I think, the favour of the player option or vice versa. So that's how it stands. But I'm assuming it, but I think it's the club though. But then why would he be talking? Maybe it is the player. Yeah. But either way, it's either the club and player. There's an option after round 6 and then there was another one in round 20 of this year, which means that there's a possibility, well, there is, that he's off now, which is why that's come up. And they've got Ethan Sanders, who has come from Parramatta, who's a really good half, who's chomping at the bit. And if they re-sign Fogarty on a 1 or 2 year deal, Sanders would probably get the shit sitting there because he's like a New South Wales under-19s halfback. Okay. So then, you know what I'm saying? So Canberra probably weighing up, do they stick with Fogarty or do they bring the young gun up and let Fogarty move on?
You're right.
That's why.
Okay, we can rule them out.
Yeah. Okay. So
and he's a 6. He's not a 7.
Okay. So let's go to the next one. Roosters.
Manly.
Oh, Manly, yes.
I think you should do Manly
Brooksy
next.
goes back to 7 again.
I cannot see him and Brooksy in the halves.
No.
Does that fuck Fogarty though? He says good fuck Fogarty because he's looking to go to Manly.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think that's why we're talking. Like, Fogarty goes to Manly, then it's just a no, which is a bit. I think that's going to happen. If he doesn't, then that means Manly needs someone. So even if we don't see them as a combination working, they probably do. Yeah. You know, and in desperation, desperate measures.
They've certainly got the money.
Yeah. They got the money.
Who did we just say before Manly?
Chooks.
Oh, Roosters. Him and Walker in the halves would be great.
Yeah.
That's a 10-year plan right there.
That's two that you can have for 10 years. Yeah. The only problem is the male is DC's already there.
Okay. And which is not breaking male. It's pretty
But is it
obvious.
only because, I guess it's 27? Like if he was DC goes for 1, or do you think he's definitely there for 2?
I think he wouldn't sign for 1 DC. I think because of I think he'd definitely sign for 2.
He wants to. He's still playing well enough to get 2 out.
Yeah.
You know?
So this is where...
This is where... They're just trying to span her in for the Roosters.
See, no, this is a little bit, but this is where, like, it takes you back to Galvin. If they didn't have a deal already done, he'd be coming off at the perfect time for the Roosters and other clubs. Yeah. I reckon there's a deal done with Galvin, but we'll get to that. So the Roosters, again, like Penrith, different because they got the money, but him and Walker would be a great halves pairing for a long time. So I reckon, Nick, if he'd already shaken hands with DCE, I reckon that hand slowly like, oh, shit. He'd be thinking, oh, no, I didn't know this was going to happen. Yeah. But Nick does not deal with Isaac Moses.
But until
I know that because he said to my face he hates him.
Yeah,
hates him.
Yeah, but until you have to.
At some point. Business is business, but... No, but he says, I will not sign an Isaac Moses. And you go have a look. He will not sign anyone who is playing underneath him, like he's signed to Moses. He will not do it.
Well,
he's big on principles, isn't he?
Well, hang on. Who?
Have a think about it.
Teddy?
No, then Teddy left and went with Weeby.
Suoliti?
Yeah.
Suoliti, that's the reason. Because
he went to rugby.
No, yeah, but it was the way it was done.
Okay.
Because
allegedly,
Nick was blindsided.
Okay, I do remember this story.
And then it was like never again. Now this leads us to the next team.
Let's move
And
on.
this is why this leads us to the next team. I'll come off the back of what I just said. Gus Gould, he didn't used to talk to Moses. They have rehashed lately. Okay. So they're talking to each other now.
Right.
But he was similar to Nick. Didn't want to borrow him. Now they're talking again. Gus has been, I said it on 360, he said he's the best ever teenage prodigy he's seen.
What does he see that I don't see? I don't get it. Sonny Bill.
Kalen Ponga.
Are you kidding me?
Laurie Daly, Brad Fittler.
Yeah.
Benji Marshall.
JT even.
But he must see something. There's something that Gus is seeing that we don't see.
Gus is, and I say it all the time, the smartest rugby league. Yes. How do you put it?
Mind.
The brightest mind in the game. If he's not, he's top two. And I love the way he commentates. I love his thought processes and the way he analyses games and sees what a lot of us don't see. And what he's done with the Bulldogs is incredible. Like what he did with the Panthers, where the Bulldogs are now. It's because of Gus. You know, he's a freak, absolute freak. But the one thing I cannot align with and cannot comprehend are his comments of late around Galvin. Like and I'll get this clear. Galvin is a New South Wales player and Australian player
for sure.
I think that.
Yeah.
But I do not see him in the same ilk as the players we just mentioned.
Yeah.
Jared Hayne, mate. Like,
oh my God.
Some of these kids, mate, Clyde won a premiership in his teens. Daly was close to his teens.
Did he win the Clive Churchill? Was it Clive Churchill in the 80s?
Brad Fittler.
90s.
Who
80s.
Mate, he lived with Gus. So it's crazy. For me, it's so out of character for Gus to say something to me which is outrageous about a kid that he loves so much that he's all of a sudden now could be on the market. And
where do you play him? At the Dogs?
I said it. I don't know where he fits in. I'll get your opinion. And I had mine last night.
Well, Birdo's 6.
Mm-hmm.
You can't put Birdo to the centres. You've got Critter and Sherry killing it.
Yep.
Sherry's killing it.
Yep.
You know,
Connor Tracy's going great.
Connor Tracy, like I've been a little bit critical of him. I think he's moving forward and down the track. Is he part of the elite? He's becoming part of the elite.
Yeah.
He doesn't. I don't see where he fits.
Now, okay, I look at it and I think the only possibility would be if they put Galvin at 5'8", they keep Sexton at 7, they put Burton in the centres, and they push Crichton back to fullback, right? That's the only possibility I see. Only possibility. Burton cannot play 7. Galvin can't play 7. You couldn't put Burton and Galvin together in the halves. But the big thing that you were huge on with DCE, and you were right, is that the Bulldogs, they don't compromise their values, morals and standards and bring a player in that won't fit into their group. Now, we're hearing that Lachie is a bit of a, how do you put it, without being too harsh, he's a bit different and wouldn't say he gets along with everyone. The players don't want to play with him. He's walked out on the club when they're going well and they've worked hard and put a team first mentality in. Do you think that Gus and Serrato are going to want to put him in that environment?
You ain't going to disrupt that group. No way. You don't put it. I think I'm confident they're not looking at him anymore.
Okay.
Like
it's a full watch this space, this one. This is intriguing, the Gus thing.
This has made the DCE thing look boring.
It has.
Seriously.
DC who?
Yeah. I try and think about how do the Dogs, I look at Melbourne and the Dogs as the two best teams at the moment.
Melbourne are just sitting one out, one back, just. Doing
But you
this,
look
no
at-
dramas, not
yeah.
even looking at any players, don't need anyone, cruise
Look at their-
control,
look
you
at their
tip Warriors on the
9.
weekend.
They're 9-7-6-1. And then you look at the Dogs 9-7-6-1.
Yeah.
It's just not even close.
No, it's not close.
It's not
That's
far.
the difference.
That's not far. Does Galvin bring them up towards that
Where do
Melbourne?
you put him?
Exactly.
I know how we find where he goes. Rennie, where's he not going?
Oh, he's hammering your tips.
He's hammering the tips.
Yeah.
He wants to-
I hope he goes to the Roosters.
It's the uni. Rennie's
Get into
uni
the
bet lay of the day. He's tipping the
That went
Roosters.
straight over my head. I wasn't listening.
Yeah, I know. You were staring into the stars, thinking about Laparu's A grade. All right. Now it brings us to the Parramatta Eels. They are now into hot favourites. Hot favourites. I'll tell you the reason for it. I think he's a Parramatta junior. Dylan Brown's moving on to Newcastle. So they've got the money. One big thing is Moses manages Moses.
Yeah.
And Moses manages Galvin. So that would be big. There's no denying that. Rolsey I have a big rap on. So in terms of development, I think he will get developed there, but why would he get developed there more than the Tigers? I still can't get my head around that because that's the reason he's leaving. So that to me, I call bullshit on. But but the reality is this is where he's likely to land from all the mail I'm getting at the moment, which to me again says that this has been planned for a while. You know, because why would you go there when they're coming last, looking legless, couldn't even compete on the weekend, look like they're going nowhere. But hey, I'm going to leave a club on the rise to go to a club coming last.
Yeah. So you got. Let me just break down what you're saying.
Yeah.
So you got Isaac Moses, Mitch Moses.
Yep.
Related.
Yep.
Need a 6. Dylan Brown's leaving. Do you have any other players there, Isaac?
Maybe Penasini?
I don't know.
Has he got Penasini? I think he's off contract too.
Wow.
I don't know.
So what, he could be trying to leverage.
No. I don't know. If Penasini's off contract, because Penasini's been playing, I rated him until this year. I don't know what's happened to him. Penasini's off contract. I tell you what, if Penasini's off contract and he re-signs at Para at the same time Galvin signs there, that'd be very interesting. I don't know. Just maybe keep an eye on that. This is my like.
He's got
I hated how agents have power over clubs and leverage, and we all. But you and I know.
How many clubs has he got power over?
Hey, he had Brisbane, didn't he? Well, that's not going anyway, because people get all funny about it with me talking about it.
Yeah,
I don't want to have to go down that path, but what I don't like though is that these agents having too much power at clubs, and fans don't like it either because it dictates who goes where, and even players get taken advantage of because of it. Like, just say you're moving a player to a club to try and get your other player in, but then this player doesn't get as much as that player should have. It gets so murky. It happened to you.
It happened to me.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Where did it happen to you at?
Dogs, last year at the Dogs. And I didn't work it out until I left.
So an agent,
maybe a few years after, I was moved on.
Yep.
And a player with the same manager came
in. Wow.
And I was on tour on my last year of my contract.
This is what these. I just need to remain calm and not say anything stupid.
Yeah, but this is me. I didn't even figure.
I'll start meditating. When are those AA meetings? I'm coming.
Man, I didn't figure it out till years later.
What, alcoholic addiction? Or... No, sorry.
That was
nasty. Everything you said.
Sorry, no, that was nasty. I said that was nasty.
I know you're not an alcoholic, and I'll see you every day.
I drink with you.
Hey, you drink with me.
He's the enabler.
It's my fault now. No, go on. Back to,
it happens.
Yeah,
it definitely happens. But we move on.
Let's move on. All right, so there it is. I mean,
one pick from each of you. Where do you think he lands? Bang bang. Para?
It's looking like Para now. It is. Because Rennie's going Para. I'll go Dogs. I'll go Dogs just for a smoky. Now this incident, we'll move on from Galvin and we'll let this play out, and we'll watch it very closely as everyone is. But Spencer Leniu taking on the great JT at Suncorp Stadium last weekend. We're good mates with Jono. I haven't spoke to him though about it. Have you spoke to him?
No, I haven't spoken to him.
I think he's going to be quiet too. I think it rattled him a bit this. But I want to get your take, Ren, on this situation because for a few reasons. I mean, you're mates with Jono. Spencer, I'm sure you're a fan of him as a player.
Massive fan.
So that's what's, I suppose, unique here for us on this podcast is we're going to have our opinion on it and we're mates with Jono.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like I know where you're going to go with this. So what's your take on it?
Look, when I watched the incident unfold on the phone, of course, as a friend of Jono, I get protective of him.
Yeah.
He's a good friend. We've been to war with him.
Yeah.
We've been through pre-seasons. We've been in the trenches. Until I was able to understand the whole scope of what Spence was blowing up about, and I think he's got every right to have a go. Just because Johnathan, who I love you, Jono.
Yeah.
You are not immune to criticism just because you're a great of our game.
Mm-hmm.
They're both in the right. Johnathan had his say. Spence has every right to be angry, and I don't want to break it down too much. He's not a racist, right? He said a remark that he regretted. And that would come across as a racial slur. Look, let's not even go there.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the two men had an argument, and they're both in the right.
Yeah. I mean, I was surprised that Jono was surprised.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
You pretty much, and again, you pretty much tried to get him from 8 weeks to 12 on the Today Show, highest rating morning show in the country. And you've gone on there and said he should get 12 weeks instead of 8, right?
Yeah.
And then Spencer's not happy about that. Shock horror.
Yeah.
Come on, man. Don't be shocked by this,
No.
The thing with Jono is he's such a legend, right, as a bloke and in the community that he wouldn't be used to people not agreeing with him or having an issue with him. Mm-hmm. So it would have been a shock to him. It would have been a shock to him. That's how I saw it. And then can you imagine being Spencer Leniu and you've got one of the greats, JT, coming out saying you're insinuating you're a racist and you should get 12 weeks, right? And then you sit back and then another player under the influence of drugs, right, drives a car with unlicensed, crashes into an Uber, injures a young girl who's put in hospital, and there wasn't a whisper from one person, not just Jono, there wasn't a whisper from anyone about how he only got 9 weeks and Spencer got 8 for what he did. And this is not Jono's fault. But this is Spencer sitting at home thinking, are they taking the piss?
Yeah.
Is this actually for real? And he's probably putting that negative energy towards Jono when he shouldn't have, right? Yeah. Because it's not Jono's fault. Jono's not going to come out and I think it was off season too. Jono's not going to come out and comment about it. You know, and it's really not related to him. And let's remember, Jono does a lot of work in Indigenous communities. He's got businesses and charities, so he's a spokesman for the Indigenous. So I know why he was strong, but Jono probably didn't realise the impact that it would have. And Spencer and the Roosters remain vigilant that he wasn't actually racist when he said that, whatever, believe it or not, whatever you may take. But then, it was again, but that's just my take on sort of the optics and the situation itself.
Not only that, Spence is about that life.
Yeah.
He's from the street, you say anything about, even about me, I'm not saying I'm from the street, but if you're going to criticize me, expect something to come back at you.
Yeah.
And I'm sure we've both been in a situation with journalists or former players before. I know I have.
Yeah.
I know with Matty Johns.
What happened?
He criticised Parramatta's performance back in 2012 when we were struggling. I might have been 13, and I regretted it.
Yeah.
But the fact that it came from a former player hurt me more. I said, well, if you're so fucking good as a coach, why don't you come down and help us?
Yeah.
And I said that on national television. Matty probably doesn't even remember it. But I regretted it because I was emotional.
Which is what you are after a game. Spencer had been copping some abuse and all that. So he was emotional. And I was on air with Brendan Smith on Triple M, Dead Set Legends on Saturday. And I've been highly vocal about how I think he was a bad buy for the Roosters because they needed a genuine 9 and they bought him as a genuine 9 and I think he's a 13.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually didn't like it. So he fronted me about it, but through messages. And we sorted it out, right? Like, and I respect that. Like, it was like, so it was quite ironic because this happened the night before. Me and him were working together. I hadn't seen him since. But he was cool. I was cool because we got our differences. You're never going to agree with everyone.
No.
We're paid to have an opinion, and so is Jono. So you're going to have your opinion, but not everyone's ever going to agree with you. And players are going to have the shit because we went through it. We lived it. We had the shit. So I get it, but just it's about how you handle it. And you know, even I had it with Latrell, which we've addressed, and I didn't think he handled it the right way. I actually thought he handled it terribly, right? But at the same time, I'm not going to go up to Latrell now and go, hey, brother, how are you? Yeah. You know, high five.
Yeah.
You know, we don't really like each other. Yeah. Like I respect him, but we're not going to. I'm not stupid enough to think that we're going to be mates.
Yeah.
Or you know, and he's probably the same, right? That was just the miss. Like I think if Jono just sort of copped his FU and let it be, you know, it was fine. But Jono's like, oh, what's wrong? You know, like he kind of didn't read the room. And then Spencer's taken a little bit too far. Whatever.
I'm actually happy with Spence addressing it on the field. Yeah. I don't care where it is.
I think we just had to give a bit more insight into, you know, two sides of the story, the perspective there on Spencer.
They're both in the right.
I don't have an issue with the whole thing, bottom line. But, you know, I think if you peel it all back, you know, it's quite interesting.
I think they tried to interview him multiple times. I think you spoke about it because I was in the sheds and we saw Spence come out.
Now that was wrong. That was the report I got first. The report I got first because I was ringing all the journos like first thing Saturday morning because I'm about to go on Triple M. They wanted me to, you know, and they all said he tried to interview him a couple of times. He didn't try and interview him. He just went to go up and say what. And Spencer's like, mate, I don't want to bar you. I don't like you. Whatever. And for JT, he's that type of bloke, and he gets a bit, oh, no, you know, no, what's wrong? You know, like, it's like, bro.
Benny Eichen came up with a great point.
Yeah.
Origin.
Oh, mate, didn't he? What?
That was a great point.
I hadn't even thought of that. I got goosebumps when he said it.
Yeah.
Imagine Origin this year.
You know what Queensland are like. You know what Milesy's like. You know what Billy's like.
Yep.
You know what Kemp Smith is like. They're going after Spence.
He might, if he's there.
Laurie.
You know what? If I'm Laurie, I might not pick him. I might not pick him for a reason.
No, you got to pick him.
I'm joking. I'm actually joking.
No, I know you're joking, but Spencer, you're in the team. Now, we're going to build the Origin. The whole thing is going to be built up around this.
Yeah. It'll rear its head. You know what? If they're going to do that, if these cockroaches are going to base the series around that, well, fuck them.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking Spencer, rev up, son.
Him. No, not just Spence.
No, that's what I'm about to say. Tell the other blokes.
Cattle dog.
Mate, this bloke had a crack at me on live. Like, you know, I'm going a bit over the top here, but if they're going to leverage, that's what Queensland
leverage off it.
They're going to leverage it. They're going to paint Spencer as a grub.
Yep.
Well, you know what? Turn the fucking table.
100%.
Let's go. You know, let's go.
There we go. Get Laurie in,
coach.
Like, I don't want to say more because it crosses the line. But what I would say to Spencer, mate,
I'm going to game 1 too. So, Spence, your family, where are you sitting? I'm coming to sit with you. Let's go.
Rennie won't be playing by then. You never know. If you play well for Lapa, next steps are, South, what level?
I don't know. Where do I go from here?
Straight in the same.
What position would you be now?
6.
Why'd you say it like you just had your balls and someone was grabbing your ball at 6?
How's your kicking game?
Awful.
2 left feet. All right, let's touch on Penrith a little bit. Penrith.
Who?
the deep dive off the back of our mate over here. The curse. Yeah. Who'd they play on the weekend? I'm a bit frazzled from this week. I've had that much.
Dolphins.
The Dolphins. They got flogged. Didn't look like winning. I said it. It wasn't the loss. It was the way they lost, which was real. I think that week was a turning point because everyone was still like, oh, I don't know. Everyone's umming and ahhing. They're not putting a line through them yet. But then the way they lost was like, man, they're in big trouble.
Uncharted territory. I've heard all that conversation. So Ivan and his extended coaching staff have got to come up with some serious answers right now. I'll just quickly, I don't know why he would have had Sorensen, Talangi, McLean, and the other kid on the wing.
On the same edge.
On that same edge.
You had to.
You want a mix of experience.
You've got to make a coach's decision there and mix it up. Defensively, they attack with their defense. The line speed was there. The effort is there. But once you get to the edge of the middles, they're making bad decisions on the edges. They're not shutting it down. And when they have such great line speed, if you make an error, it's a big error because they're going through. What else did I notice? Martin and Yowie looked tired. Martin got replaced. I don't know if he was carrying an injury, and I think he plays majority of his footy at 80 minutes, right?
Yeah, 80-minute player.
They look tired. And they've got every right to be tired.
My take is this. Yo and Martin look tired because they're carrying extra load, right? There's no doubt. They have to work harder. They have to put more in. They're covering more ground. Martin's chasing everyone across the field, and then that puts him out of the defensive line, and then they're making errors in the other areas. But the big one is Fisher Harris missing from the middle has been underestimated. You know, Fisher Harris was their rock in the middle of the field, right? Yeah. He would get in there, they'd dominate 2-3 in the tackle, they'd slow the ruck down, their speed of the line would be quick off the back of that, their edges would be more in shape and ready to go and set and ready for whatever was thrown at them. Now, not only have you got Fisher Harris not there, who is the rock, you've got Luai on the edge, who's the energy and experience and is a good reader of defence. So Luai, who would control the edges, is now not there. And then Fisher Harris, who would control the middle, is now not there. So not only do you lose them in defence with your systems and your reliability and experience and effectiveness to slow down the ruck and to stop plays on the edges, which Luai would often do with his rush. Now you also lose them in attack. The quick play of the balls and elbows and knees from Fisher Harris, which therefore gets Isaiah Yeo on the front foot, which therefore brings Clear into the game, which therefore brings Luai into the game, is gone. And now you've got not only Martin, who's carrying extra load, and Yeo, Cleary in attack is as well. And he doesn't have that unpredictability of Luai off the back of, you know, a player and offload that gives Cleary more time and space to deliver, time to think, time to execute. And at the end of the day, they've always had depth. They've always had players coming through. They've lost their last two key players that were holding them together.
There's one more no one talks about, Taruva. Imagine the meters that he used to be like. He's a solid winger.
And To'o's been out. That's another thing. Good point you make. Taruva's not there. To'o. Because we'd always say they've got extra forwards. They're back three extra forwards.
They've lost one.
And they had Edwards out. He came back, but Edwards doesn't have To'o there or Taruva there, you know, at the moment. To'o will come back. So that's another reason. So, okay, let's spin a positive then. To'o comes back. That does change a lot. It does change a lot, but they're still missing in those other key areas. You know, this week, we said last week, this week, they got the Chooks, right? Chooks need to do what they did last. We'll get to the preview, but I think this week's a real big one. I mean, if they lose this week, Penrith, then the question is, can they make the 8? They're unlikely to make the 8. They're probably unlikely to make the 8. If they win this week, turn things around, bit of momentum, they will make the 8. I think this is a big one.
So I should back them?
Oh, Jesus.
I'll tell you one thing. Your Dogs making the 4 and old mate said they got Powerball.
Yeah.
The one team that was rubber stamped to be in the 4 from everyone was Penrith.
Yeah.
This has just increased the chances of Dogs playing top 4
me winning Powerball. Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. All right. Yep.
You mentioned Fisher Harris, and I know the team's struggling in general, but I think Moses Leota is the one that's carried the full effect of missing Fisher Harris, because at one point last year I spoke to Mace about it. I said he's slightly just taking over Fisher Harris, and now you see him without Fisher Harris. He's come back to the pack, you know.
Yeah, it's a domino effect.
I've got a question for you on that. Is Fisher Harris, and as much as Leota might have on field been taking over, but is he the Jared Warrior-Hargraves who's now retired?
And I see that. I do see that.
Off the field.
They were so dominant as a forward pack that I didn't give him his flowers enough. Fisher Harris.
And just to back that up, like from inside the camp, he was like Jared. trained hard, played hard, set the standard and tone at training.
He's that cult figure.
He's the cult figure. So, and maybe that round 1 win in Vegas was it fooled us all. But, yeah, man, they're hurting and they're hurting hard. Let's get in this preview, huh?
All right, beautiful. We have Manly Sea Eagles back at 4 Pines where they belong against the Dragons, and they are $1.60, $2.35.
Okay, this is very much like the game I just spoke about, which we'll get to, the Penrith Roosters one. I think this is a really big moment for Manly because at 4 Pines we'd say they're unbeatable. We said weeks ago they had a soft underbelly, and we've been proven right. Let's be honest, we've been proven right. They've had adversity and they've had the DC stuff, but everything we said has happened. Like they don't have consistency and resilience. When the shit hits the fan, they don't have it. And this is a big moment because they're playing a Dragons team who, they were really good last week, but it was only the Titans, wasn't it? They beat. They should have won 2 out of the 3 games before that, but they're not it. I mean,
they're
look
not
at
far off.
The Dragons, their effort, they try hard and they'll beat a lot of teams. But you look at the squads. If you line both of these teams up this week, you just say Manly at 4 Pines. But I don't think so. I think the Dragons will go very close in this game, and this is almost a season-defining game for Manly because with DCE moving on, Tom not playing, and the pressure that they've got on them because of all of this at the moment, if they lose at 4 Pines against the Dragons, man, they're in deep shit. They're a chance of missing the 8. Like this could derail their season. This game, the other games, they went to Perth. Sharks, they were ordinary on the weekend. Sharks were good. This is a big moment for them as well. This is a really big game for Manly.
So who are you tipping?
Because they're desperate.
You know what? I'm going to go the Dragons. I mean, not with confidence, but they're certainly not my faith in Braith, which I'm 5 and 6. We didn't talk about that. We normally address that at the top of the show.
Sorry.
Can someone else say so I don't sound like a wanker?
Faith in Braith.
Like, give me some credit.
It's beautiful. I love listening to it.
You're both 5 from 6 at the moment.
Here we are.
Reversed.
Yeah.
I'm tipping this could flip this week.
It is. I'm 5 and 1. He's 1 and 5.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I said.
Just go against whatever I pick. But because they're desperate, I'm going to go with Manly.
You're going with Manly?
I'm gonna go with
That's fair.
He's sticking with 4 Pines. All right. You guys will be at this game, of course, Stadium. Good Friday, Doggies, South. And they're $1.29, $4, $3.55.
This is going to be epic. 70,000 people, and I expect it to be so close because both of these teams have the same ethos at the moment. Like they've got the same principles. They're competing in every single game that they play. South are a bit unlucky on the weekend. They got that call with Jack White, and that try saver was a cracker. They gave it a hip drop and brought it back to the play, and they had so much momentum. It was anyone's game, and that pretty much ruined them. So if you kind of take that out, man, they've been so good considering the players they've had out and the squad they've got. And they'll rise for this. And Cody's back in at halfback.
It worries me as a dog supporter. The big occasion, 70,000 people. I'm like, fuck.
Man, if Latrell
turns it on.
His kicking game was so good on the weekend, and even his ball play. If he ran it just 4 or 5 times more, right. The guy's if he's close to the line, no one wants to tackle him. He could be so good. Like he's already really good. He could be great. Like even at 5'8", like on the weekend I'm watching him, it looks like he made that pass for the try.
Everything's effortless.
He makes it effortless.
Effortless.
It's like GI, right? But GI would turn it on more.
Yeah.
GI would if he turned it on more and just went like he does in Origin. If he runs the ball at 5'8", the way that he can.
If you had Billy Slater's ethic,
oh my God,
be the greatest player to ever play the game.
Honestly. But that he worries me too as a Dogs fan. I got to tip the Dogs at home. I think Birdo's back in. Kiki's named on the bench. Big game, home crowd, and they're in the best form. Like South are in really good form, but Canterbury better. In a very 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 entertaining game. I'm gonna say the Dogs will just be too tough.
Yeah. I think Dogs will put a score on them this week.
Score?
I think Dogs are
morals. Okay. Yeah. You reckon morals?
I cannot been this impressed with the team for a long time.
Yeah.
They are so
But I'm
good.
impressed.
I'm
but
nervous now. I'm not.
you two are going hard.
I'm
Okay.
nervous.
I'm impressed and I love them and I think they're flying. But, I mean, what game this year have South not been in? No matter who they've played.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is very
You're
true.
right.
That is very
You are the
true.
expert.
He is running very hot.
What do we got next?
Hot
All right,
hand.
we go to Suncorp. Dolphins coming off a win against the Storm.
Storm.
Yeah.
Where's this one at Redcliffe? Oh, this is
No,
not
it's
Redcliffe,
Suncorp.
Suncorp, right?
It's Suncorp. They're $1.21, $4.35.
Dolphins on the improve heavy, finally finding their feet. Hemiso's found his form. They're believing in the systems there that
They're
the
great
new
on their
coach has
edges,
got.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Avarillo, Farnsworth,
They got speed, mate.
Lemuelu.
They got speed.
They got real speed.
If they in open spaces, try. You know, like, and
Yeah.
that's such a
Okay,
asset. You know,
Yeah.
Both teams have speed in this
They
game,
do.
don't they? It's going to be a good.
and
Good to
Katoa, I
watch.
love Katoa, the half.
Qatar was outstanding.
But you know, you can't go against the Storm at the moment, so you just got to tip them really. But I wouldn't be I wouldn't be getting carried away with anything in this game. It's a bit tricky one. I reckon Dolphins could fight, and you know there is a possibility of an upset, but I don't think there will be.
All right, we've got New Zealand Warriors $3 at home against the Brisbane Broncos at $1.38, coming off a loss.
Okay, now this one,
Yeah,
this one
is
sticks
tricky.
out to me.
Yeah, me too.
I expect a bounce back. Melbourne just went bang, 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 and it was over. Was there any injuries or anything in that game? What happened? I'm trying to think.
There was in the Warriors.
Someone
game,
got
wasn't there?
10, which cost them Warriors
Yeah.
3 or 4 tries.
Yeah.
But Melbourne were just out of the blocks quick. You know, this is one where you'd take, what's the start?
The start is one moment. Should I go back? It is 8.5 start.
Ooh, yeah, they've
I
got
told
that
you
right.
Brisbane were.
It seems right.
They've
on the
got that
money.
right.
If Warriors match them for energy, like we said this about Brisbane last week, I said when they're going flying, they're going great. As soon as they get matched,
They're like Manly, mate.
yeah, as soon as they get matched or you stand up to them and they're coming trying to chase points, they panic.
I'm with you. They're like Manly. They're nearly identical at the moment. They've got a soft underbelly still. We said it last week. Matt just trying to, but you know what, Matt, the issue with this is where it could get, keep your eyes on this because I'm hearing a bit of stuff but like, because Madge is so hard and he's trying to build that to that soft underbelly and get it out of them so that they're
As quick as possible.
hard and tough and resilient, is that his answer is to go harder.
Yeah.
Will they respond to that going harder or will they just go
Capitulate.
the other way? That's why I'm kind of like thinking Warriors could be the go this week with that start, you know, like at home,
At home.
bounce back, played the best team in the comp last week. Broncos aren't near Melbourne at the moment.
No.
I'm taking that 8, but I'm tipping the Broncos in a close one. That's what I would say. That's my kind of feel
What do you
there.
got the Warriors?
He's got the Warriors stranded. I like that. Brave. We've got the Sydney Roosters at home $1.67 against the Penny Panthers
They were
$2.20. You've already touched on
last
this.
week, mate.
Can-
Billy Smith, that poor kid has had so many major injuries. ACLs possibly, Braith.
Yes, ACLs
A
definitely.
couple?
Definitely ACLs.
You could. He's
I'm
25.
surprised he's back
He's a
then. I
bionic
thought they were going
man.
to arrest him for 3 years.
You look at the talent of that
Savala's
kid.
kicking game. Can we touch on
Yeah,
that?
well, let me
amazing.
just finish
Oh,
on
he's still
Billy
going
Smith
Billy,
first.
Let me have his point.
Mate, he's a footballer. He's
is.
outstanding.
I hope he is.
There we go. It's a match.
I couldn't help
Jokes
it.
are lame. It's so lame.
I couldn't help it.
Oh, Hugo's kicking game. Continue. I can't be bothered. Hugo's kicking game was great. He put him right a couple of metres off the try line.
thought he
He
was
got
a
down
soccer
there.
player.
Kick chase was amazing.
And he closed out the game good. That's the one thing Issa missing, even when Sammy Walker's there, a long kicking game. And with Savala, they had it.
That's why, like, when Walker comes back next year,
The ball's
Give me
being
some
thrown.
the ball. I won't
Give me
even
the
talk
ball.
about the soccer ball. Him and Savala could be a good partnership, you know, like because
Just leave Walker on the side.
Walker's got such a good kicking, short kicking game,
Yeah.
and he's so creative in attack. Savala just big body, does his job, long kicking game, good combination. But we won't talk about. We're not there yet. But I mean,
They really
can the Roosters? But against South, you look at the body language of the Roosters and you go, what's going on? then you from the kickoff last week against Brisbane, you go there on.
They match
So
that
you know
energy.
you almost like
They've got it.
you watch the first few sets this week because they're not quite there yet. The Roosters, yeah, they beat Brisbane, but you're going to know in the first 10 minutes what team we got. They're still trying to find their feet and put themselves in a position to play finals and flex their muscles and and try to prove people wrong. So if they bring the energy from last week, they'll beat Penrith. But if they don't, Penrith will win. So it's a hard gauge, because Penrith are going to be desperate. But I can't tip them, Penrith. I just can't. I'm going to go the Roosters.
I'm going the Roosters.
Oh, you're an asshole. Well, I'll tell you one player to watch, Celesi Fekete. Did you
Yes. Yeah. He came off the bench, that kid.
No, he started last week.
Is he
and
the
he's coming
young
off
kid?
He's a young kid, the yellow boots. He's a
Yeah.
edge player.
He's good.
Yeah, nice hands.
They
Who's,
really
White.
Nafahu White.
Oh,
he was good.
he's playing good, man.
Man,
Unbelievable.
didn't they match?
And
they
Nat Butcher in the middle actually worked.
Well, he needed a good game, Nat. He hasn't been the best start of the year for him. He's normally so consistent. He's had a few errors.
Yeah. Last game we got not last game, second last game we got that hurts.
Yeah.
We go up the C bus. We have the Titans $2.08 against the Canberra Raiders $1.75.
All right, here it is. Have your faith in Braith. Raiders.
He's going with Raiders.
Raiders.
Ride with Rennie Raiders.
Oh,
You want to be separate.
you've never followed my
no, I don't
actual
have to.
faith in Braith, though.
No, but we need it for a multi at the end, so you're going to have to go elsewhere.
You
Who
go
they-
elsewhere. You stay out.
Who are they playing?
Titans.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Raiders.
Okay, let's just stick with the tips for now, all right? Then we'll go to our multi
Yeah.
at the end. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Raiders, yeah.
Raiders.
Well, I just said it 8 times.
Sorry. You threw a massive spanner in the works. All right, we go to McDonald Jones Stadium. Newcastle Knights up against the Sharks. We have the prices.
Sharks.
Yeah.
Newcastle haven't scored a point
Errors, man. Jesus.
in 2 games. They didn't score on the weekend, did they? I left at half time.
Concentrate.
Because I did the broadcast and
Yeah.
left at half time.
Yeah, right. No,
Did they score in the second half?
right at the end, didn't they?
Or did they? So they did
Right
score a
at the
try.
end. Did they?
Wait, I haven't got it.
Come
One
on,
second.
mate.
Just 1 second.
Oh, you got one
I'm
job
looking at
over
the
there.
prices.
Um,
They scored 1 try at the
right
end.
at the
Yeah,
end.
1 try at the
okay,
end.
so they've scored 1 try in 160 minutes at the end of the game.
So they're due.
No, well, no. It's more like they're down in confidence and belief and execute, and that's everything, right?
They're
Like
gone.
they're even talking about bringing Hastings back into the team, I think. But I don't think they
joked
are.
about it last
You
week.
joked about it. They brought Gamble in, I think. But
Yeah. They're in
even
disarray.
even Caleb
Mason's
looks like
man
he's got
Gamble.
no
Willie
answers.
Mace's man Gamble.
He loves him, does he? Oh, they had a bit of a
Sprayed him.
sprayed
That's
him, didn't
right.
he? Didn't hold back.
Yeah, they're struggling.
All right.
And the Sharks are just they got too much class and too much fire. This is a toss up. Let's get to the next one.
Last game's a funny one because it's meant to be
It's
a
Sharks, by the way.
yeah, Sharks and Sharks. Tigers home game, but at Combank.
I'm staying out of this. Like in terms of like in terms of Unibet, like in
Yeah.
I mean it's.
And Mitchell Moses back.
I'm going to go the Tigers, right? And this is pure. I have no idea if I'm being straight up. I'm going to be honest. I have no idea because Moses return. We don't know how they're going to play with him returning. We don't know if he will lift the whole team and he'll give confidence to all of them. And Brown will be a better player. Brown's a 10 times better player with Mitch in the side than without him. So you might need to take him to Newcastle. But when he goes there, but I mean this week, I'm expecting a Tigers team to just really go. This is a big moment for them with making that stance against Galvin, and having the confidence and belief in the players they've got there to stand him down and still get the job done. I love that. So I'm just going to take them for that. And I can't take Parrot at the moment, even with Mitch back, until I see evidence with Mitch back in the team. They're a lot better side.
You, my man?
They're a tough team to pick, Para. They gave up last week.
Yeah.
Even Hindy said that.
They were horrible.
Hindy come on the Sunday ticket before he had the Sunday night with Matty Johns. And I said, mate, live on air, I said, what did you think of Para? Because I always ask him at the moment. And he goes, mate, they gave up. He goes, I don't even care. Like he actually was happy for him to say, he was happy to say it on live TV. Not happy, but like openly said that
they gave up.
They gave up, which is the worst thing anyone can say about you.
All right.
Yeah, I'm going to go Tigers.
All right. So BTFU multi, we're all going to pick a leg. We're going to start with you, Faith Embrace.
Okay. I'm either going to go the Sharks or Raiders. I just think Raiders. I think Raiders, they got no injuries, I believe, out of that game. They're full of confidence at the moment. The Titans were disappointing, very disappointing against the Dragons. It's a big sort of step up in grade from the Dragons to Raiders at the moment. Even at home, they don't have Kinney at the back, do they? He's out for a long period of time.
Long period.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with them Raiders. Because what are they?
They're $1.75.
Oh, it's a bit short. What are Cronulla?
They're shorter. They're like
Nah.
$1.33. Go.
What? Okay, you know what? I'll go Raiders taking the
So this is going to be our multi.
This is our multi.
with the start.
I'm going Warriors
So
with the start.
what's the start?
The start's 2.5.
Cover that. What is $1.90?
$1.97. Yes.
Yeah, that's my start.
I'm going the Warriors with the start.
Warriors with the start.
I like that, Ren.
You like that?
I'm going to go.
Warriors with the start.
You?
I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to get the Sharks to cover the start.
Okay, I like that.
-9.5.
So walk us through that for Unibet. What is it?
Our legs are Canberra -2.5, New Zealand Warriors +8.5, and Cronulla Sharks -9.5. The
Beautiful.
BTFU multi.
Let's do it.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Galvin's going to Parry. Heard it here first.
I said dogs.
Or
You said Para.
dog, sorry.
Yeah.
But I actually wanted to say Para, but I just went against him. But this is going to be let's keep an eye on this. It's going to be a fun week.
And which is the next Galvin situation? Which is the next spanner in the works in the NRL? Let's get a prediction.
I don't know.
No predictions.
Nah, I don't like
Enough to
predicting.
talk about every week.
Yeah, I just hope there is one every week because it keeps me.
Keeps it easy.
It keeps work easy for me. I don't even need to do a rundown and just rock up. All right, boys. Thanks for that.
Ciao.
It's been fun. Ciao. See you next week.
What are you prepared to lose today? Set a deposit limit. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.